Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'd like to take a look at how to trade breaking news. The trade requirements are we must have breaking news. This will require both price action and volume. In this scenario, the float size will matter, and we can combine strategies for a higher success rate. Now keep in mind, there's no strategy that works 100% of the time. A few quick tips. The PR does not always matter for day traders. Often it's how the market reacts to the PR when deciding whether to take the trade or not. Day trading requires both volume and price action. Without one or the other, the trade becomes higher risk of not getting filled on orders both to the long and short side. Size matters when looking at the float size. The smaller the float, the sharper the moves, both long and short. And combined strategies can help with an entry or exit. For an example, crossing the 9 EMA while also breaking VWAP can make for a bullish move. Look for combined strategies to help minimize risk. For this example, I have up a recent chart on ticker IRNT. We can see that it had news at 5 o'clock in the after hours. It had 72,000 shares of volume traded with that news. It pulled back to that 9 purple EMA, and we used that 20 EMA as our stop loss and made for a great trade which reached back for highs and then hit 475. It then consolidated for a while, then reaching a high of 529, but the move that we were looking at is that first pullback to the 9 EMA for our first entry. Now I'm going to show you on TradingView how to use the replay mode to see how that move worked in real time. If I click the replay at the top and click over on the left side here, it'll bring me back to where that first move initiated. So I'm going to look here, I'm going to hit play, and we'll see the candles form as it comes. We're going to see that first candle there, and I'll hit pause just for a moment. Let me see if I can make this look a little bit better. There we go. Shrink that down. Okay, so what we can see here is these are the first two candles on that first PR. So the press release came out, and we had 25,000 shares here. And the reason I can see that is up in the left-hand corner, we have the volume as I scroll over these volume sticks. And the first one here was when the press release came out right at 5, and it was 25,000 shares. You can see then the next 1 minute candle had then 73,000 shares. So we had a combined of just around 100,000 shares within the first minute or 2 minutes when that press release came out. So I'm going to hit play again. We can see the next candle here is starting to sell off and pull back a little bit. We can see we made a high of 465. So that high would be the goal. So if I'm looking to buy a pullback, maybe I'm looking at that purple line, that 9 EMA, as a pullback area to start making my entry, and then using the 20 EMA as a close if I see a candle close below it as a bearish symbol or a stop loss. But we'll see here if we can get onto that purple line and get ourselves for a purple EMA, which is the 9 EMA on the 1 minute chart. Again, these are 1 minute candles. So in here we have time. You can see this is 2 minutes that the press release came out and it spiked up. And then you can see it then started to come back down, retrace a little bit, as we call it. What this shows us and tells us is we have the volume to support the move, and we're trending above the VWAP, and we're also above that 9 EMA. So this is when I talk about combined strategies. We're above the VWAP. We're also above that 9 EMA. So these are two bullish indicators when day trading. So we can also see down at the bottom we have our volume, but we also can see that we're now consolidating on that 9 EMA. We've tested it, we bounced off, we had a short wick on that candle, and we can see that we're testing that line now, or that 9 EMA. So that would be the entry there, and then we curl back up. And again, we're going to look at these highs. So we're looking at this 465 as our main goal. Now, I may scale out on the way up if I'm comfortable with a little bit of profit just to take out and minimize my risk. But I would be looking at this level here to come back and retest those highs, and that would be my main goal. After that, I may leave a lottery pick for possible more gains or possible more profits, but 9 times out of 10, I'll be scaling out right around there because that's my goal. So if you go in heavy here and you scale out here, usually I'm pretty happy with my trade. So I'll hit play again here. We'll see how this trade plays out. We can see again, we're looking for, if we saw a candle close below the 9 EMA, that would give us room for concern. And if it then tested this 20 EMA, that's where we'd really be worried about our trade. That's where I'd possibly be scaling out for a stop loss. I'm going to pause here. And the reason for it is we can see we've now reached those highs again. So we hit our goal. We spiked up on volume. We had the press release, so we had news, we had volume, and we had price action. We then look on these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 minutes. This is the time right here where I'll flip to the day chart. I'll mark support and resistance lines. I'll see if we're consolidating in an area where it's maybe a possible support. And then I'll look for things like this here. We're above the VWAP and we're above the 9 EMA. We're testing and we're showing support. So maybe we can see here, we tested, maybe we could wait for this break. So we had a high of this one was 427 and a high of this one was 430. So maybe we entered in right at the break of 427 and we were in at 428, 429. So if you're in at 429 and you took the trade from here, 429, and you got back to highs there, you're looking at a 36 cents per share gain, which is an 8.5% gain. So that's really nice. And again, this trade, it did end up consolidating and then making more highs after that. But this is the move that I'm focused on. Normally, when I'm trading breaking news, I'm going to be trading the first pullback or the second pullback. After that, I'm not really concerned with the move. I'm looking for something a little bit more fresh. And either of that or I'm looking for a real big spike in volume. And as we can see here, we now close, and I'll pause it there. We closed here. This is the first candle that closed below that purple 9 EMA. So right here is where I would then be a little concerned and maybe exit my trade altogether if I was still holding. And then I would look to maybe a green candle or a bullish engulfing candle to close above that 9 EMA to then re-enter the trade if I thought that maybe it was going to make new highs from there. So, but the main spot that I'm focused on is here. This is the press release, this is the volume, and this is the news all together. So we have the press release, we have the news, we have the price action, we spiked up on volume, and we have the volume to support the move. So we came back, we tested that 9 EMA, we used that 20 EMA as our stop loss level, and because we had the volume and the news, this is how we have a little bit higher conviction in this trade. And again, being that it's above the VWAP and above the 9 EMA, those are two bullish indicators to go with the press release, with the volume. So it's just a multitude of combined strategies that can help you have a higher success rate when trading. And now we'll see here if we can see and find this stock. We'll see if we can see that candle close above that 9 EMA. And that's where I'd be maybe entering a smaller trade again, maybe with some profits. And right there, we have that candle. So this candle here, we can see closed above that purple 9 EMA. So maybe I'd enter here and look at this level here, this dotted line, as you can see all the way across to the side here. We're looking at this level is 435. So maybe the 435, and I'll hit play. 435 is the level we'd stop out if we entered our trade, seeing as how we closed above that 9 EMA. So we're sitting here right now. We're looking at a 10-cent stop loss in case it goes down, which is manageable. It's not crazy. It's manageable risk there. And now you can see that it never does test that line. And we get lucky, and this thing did end up making another move up. And so you could scale out on that move there. But again, it does make new highs and does go up to 529, I believe it ends at. So you can see here, this is the first pullback here. This is the second pullback here. And you can make nice trade here, a nice small trade here. And then this is the third pullback. This is where I start to get a little concerned. And then we can see the 9 EMA broke. So this is a bullish indicator. Again, we're above the VWAP and we're above that 9 EMA. So this is bullish to me. And using this as our stop loss level, the 435, you can see that we've made multiple trades that went all the way up to 464 there. But right now we're at 451. So we never really tested back down at those levels. And again, this ends up going up to 529, I believe. Speed it up just a little bit. That way we can get there. And again, this dotted line would be our stop loss. I'm just trying to give an example. And you can see here, it's now reaching back up to those highs, that 474. and then it's going to break that level. So I won't continue this because we know what happens. We know it ends up going to the 529. But again, what I'm trying to fixate on here is we had the breaking news. But not only did we have breaking news, we had volume. This is the volume down here, the top left, right here, as I scroll over. 25,000 shares, 72,000 shares, 55,000 shares, 60,000 shares. We can see we had volume to support the move. We can see, if I click on the side here, we can see the float. And we can see that this has a 34 million share float, which is fairly small. That's a pretty small float. It's not a tiny float, but it's small enough where it's going to make sharp moves like this. And you can see it went all the way from this 350 to 460, then retracing back down to that 9 EMA. This is where we'd make our entry, and then we'd be scaling out on profits all the way back up to highs. And again, the goal would be to get back to that 465, which this trade did. So when looking at this stock and this chart to recap, again, we had the news, and in this area is the main focus. We had the news, we had the spike in price action, and we had the volume. So after this, we can then mark our charts within these few minutes after, mark the support and resistance on the day chart or weekly levels, and we can look at lines like this 9 EMA as a possible entry, using the 20 EMA, the yellow, as a possible stop loss. We can see how the volume, the price action, and the breaking news supported this trade and made for a really great profit. Now let's take a look at when not to buy the 9 EMA pullback, and when the volume isn't there to support, what can happen. We can see on this recent chart of ticker SEED that it spiked up on news and had price action, but you can see that it only spiked on 6,000 shares of volume and then 17,000 shares of volume to follow, with a 30,000 share volume stick being its highest volume stick of the whole pre-market. We can see this is a 9 EMA fail because when it pulled back, it didn't have the volume to support the move. So this is a great example of when not to buy the 9 EMA pullback, because this had the price action and maybe had a lot of traders' attention, but it just didn't have the volume to support its move. So again, lack of volume, had the price action, and it did have news, but it didn't have the volume to support. So we need both price action and volume and breaking news for this trade to work. Guys, if you found any value in the video, make sure to like and subscribe. And feel free to join our free Discord. We have our free scans running every day from 7 a.m. till 8 p.m. daily. Guys, I appreciate you taking the time, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.